Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Welcome, you. I hope you are well. I hope that we are thriving, and if we're not, this episode is for you. We are going to talk today about bravery and how bravery is a choice, and it's a skill that you can build with practice, just like walking, just like building boats. All of these things are just skills that are going to take a little while to be good at, and before we do that, you may be like, Amanda, why are you talking about bravery? Well, for one, it's going to change your life. When you can practice being brave, even when you're afraid, which is the only time we can be brave, right? If you're totally confident and you're not afraid at all, then you're not really needing to practice bravery. But it's going to change your life because you're going to do things that you want to do, but you have been letting fear hold you back. And a lot of people think their fears are gospel because they've never been taught that, like, hey, yeah, your fears are super legit, but they don't necessarily mean that you can't do the thing that you're saying you want to do, or you can't have the life that you want to have, or you can't get what you want. But if you believe that your fears are gospel, if you believe that you're powerless against them, then yeah, fear is going to hold you back. So bravery is going to be one of those things that is absolutely going to revolutionize your life. And I want you to have the life that you want. So here we are. But first, I want to tell you about a thing I made that is free for you to start changing your life. It's actually going to help this process because it's going to help you start looking at your little dramatic gremlin brain thoughts for what they are. Little dramatic gremlin brain thoughts whose job is to keep you safe and whose job is to make sure you never do anything new because new things are scary and we don't want to be scared because your brain thinks a bear is chasing you and you're afraid, but it's probably not a bear unless you are a wild man or woman who lives with bears. In that case, cool, you apparently have podcasts out there. But for the rest of us, you're probably not running from a bear. But our brain cannot differentiate between a life-threatening animal chasing us and the fear that comes with getting out of our comfort zone. So the journal that I developed, well, I actually stole it and tweaked it a little bit from one of my business mentors, Rachel Friedman, who is fabulous. So we tweaked a little bit, and it is the self-coaching journal. It is going to help you coach yourself through those limiting beliefs, through those fears, and start you on the path to doing the things that you are wanting to do. So it is free to you, and you can get it at livemyhappyhealth.com/self-journal. Go get it. It's free. Seriously, it's going to help you. It's going to teach you how to lean into your bravery because all of us can be brave, right? I'm sure you can think about an instance in your life at some point where you did a thing despite being afraid. Now, maybe it was for you, maybe it was for other people, maybe you stood up for yourself, maybe you took a new job, maybe you did a scary race or took a leap of faith, right? Bravery is really a leap of faith, which is also a muscle that we can work on. So, bravery. Why do we care about it? Well, as I said a few minutes ago, like, it's going to change your life. And because you're going to start realizing that your thoughts and your fears are just a string of words put together. You don't necessarily have to believe them. We can choose what to believe, and we can choose to be afraid and do a thing anyway. And that is freedom. When you learn, which you will hopefully do today, that your thoughts and your fears don't actually control your life, oh, now we can get the life we want. So how do we do it? You're like, Amanda, you spent 5 minutes talking about fear and your awesome self-coaching journal that you should definitely go get. How do we do it? Well, friend, good question. We're going to dig into it. So we have 4 steps to practicing bravery and to cultivating bravery. Step 1 is I want you to understand that your brain is not wired for happiness. It's not even wired for growth. It is wired for survival. And in order to be wired for survival, it is wired to spend the least amount of energy possible, because running your big old noggin is very, very energy intensive. It takes a lot of work, and brains don't like to work, because if your brain is spending a lot of energy doing new things and building new habits and doing things that are scary, then your brain thinks it's going to have less energy for something life-threatening to happen. And we don't want to work against our brain. We just want to work with our brain, right? We can't go against millions of years of evolution. That's just not going to happen. We can't out-evolutionize our brain. So we have to understand the way that our brain works. Our brain is wired for safety, which means not taking risk, which means avoiding things that are scary. And what's scary? Taking risks and changing your life. Because what if people won't like you? And what if you fail? And failure would feel bad. And we don't ever want to feel bad. We want to be happy all the time. And what if people judge you, or you lose money, or you look stupid? Those are all things that your brain is literally terrified of. And when your brain is afraid, what all it knows to do is to run away, right? Fight, flight, fawn, freeze. So either we avoid doing things that we say we want to do, we procrastinate, and we tell ourselves that we'll do it later, and then we just sit and worry about it the whole time. It's kind of like stress watching Netflix. If you guys have ever done that, you're like, holy shit, I have so many things to do, but I can't. I'm going to avoid all of them and watch 6 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, which, to be fair, is a really good show. You guys should watch it. It's lovely. Or we run away. We avoid having conversations. We literally look at people we need to have a conversation with and we run the other way. Like, this is a problem. Our brains are cowards, right? They are literally not wired for bravery. Now, if something is a big enough deal, if there's enough pressure or someone is in danger, yeah, then we can typically be brave. But it's just not really how our brain is wired. So I want you to work with how your brain actually is and not try and fight it, because we don't want to fight our brain all day long. That is so exhausting. No, thank you. I'm sure you're already doing it and it's not worth it. So we want to help you help your brain. So first things first. Now you understand that your brain is wired for safety. It's not wired for happiness. It's just not. Like, your brain doesn't care if you are happy. It cares if you are spending the least amount of energy possible, and building a life you want is energy intensive because you have to do new things. You have to practice bravery. You have to practice discipline. Like, each growth level is going to require you upping to a new level as well. And that is energy intensive. So your brain wants you to do nothing ever. It basically wants you to sleep like a cat does, because apex predators. So, number 1, that's how your brain works. Number 2, in order to practice bravery, we also have to accept that you're not going to feel brave. And your little gremlin brain is going to throw you all these stories on why you can't do things and how it would be scary and how people are going to judge you. And you may look stupid, and people are going to think you're stupid, and everybody else is so much better than you. And what if you fail? Those are literally just words that your brain strings together to get you to not do things. Because why? Your brain wants you to not do anything. Your brain wants you to be comfortable in your comfort zone, which I call the misery zone, because nobody is happy there. Nobody's happy in prison. Don't come at me with like, my Uncle Jerry's happy in prison. No, he ain't. He would rather be free. Thank you very much. So no one is happy in prison, and our brains create a prison for us and call it safety. And it's not. So we have to accept that your brain is going to throw you all these stories about why it's not going to work and why you're not good enough and what's going to happen if you try. None of those are good things, right? We never say, oh, well, what if it works out way beyond my wildest dreams? Typically, people don't ask those questions. So you're going to experience these thoughts and emotions. You cannot get rid of them. You cannot. You can try and fight them. I don't recommend it, because if you try and play tug of war with a bull, I guarantee that you will lose and the bull just gets stronger. You just get more tired. That's essentially what it's like fighting your brain all day. So we don't want to fight our brain. We just want to ignore our little gremlin brain. Even though it's trying to throw a rope at us and say, play tug of war with me, play with me. We're going to go, no, brain, like I'm busy building a life that I want. So I don't have time to play with you. Like, check out, dude. I'm busy. So we have to accept that you're going to feel afraid. You're going to feel unsure, unconfident, unclear, worried, judged. You may feel any of those things and you may feel different things, right? You're going to hear your brain tell you that you can't do it and you're not good enough and you're not smart enough and you don't work hard enough and it's not possible for you. And those things aren't true unless you let them be true. But we cannot change them. We can only change how often we feed them. So you can just as simply feed them and get caught up in those fears and get caught up in those stories, or you can acknowledge that they exist and put your attention back on whatever it was that you were doing. That is why bravery is a choice. Now, bravery is an emotion, but it's also a choice, because you can choose to be afraid and do the things anyway. And we want to start small, right? We don't want to start with like, what's a huge thing? We don't want to jump off the cliff, right? Sometimes you do want to jump off the cliff, but in general, we want to start small. We want to do small acts with bravery, which will prepare us to do bigger acts with bravery. So we can have conversations with people that we need to have a conversation with. We don't have to start with a big, hairy conversation. We can start with a smaller conversation. We want to take steps towards our dream. We want to even allow ourselves to dream. That in itself can be such an act of bravery, because you are allowing yourself to think of the life that you want, even though you're afraid, even though you're unsure. So that in itself is a huge step. And we're going to take accountability for those things. We're going to say, okay, how have I gotten myself in this space? What is my role in the life that I'm living right now? Good and bad. We want to do both, non-judgmentally. You have gotten in your own way countless times. I have gotten in my own way countless times. It is just a byproduct of existing. If you are alive, you have fucked up, okay? You have done things that you probably didn't want to do. You have self-protected so hard that you have self-sabotaged. Like, that is so human. And it's okay. When we know better, we can do better. Now that we know bravery is a practice, and it's one of the big fat secrets to getting the life that you want, we can just do better. So we are on the road to doing better. So we're going to take accountability for what we have done, how we have gotten in our own way. And we're just not going to make those choices anymore, which is a brave thing to do, to decide to change your life, to decide to deepen a relationship, to make any change is brave. Because we're not always exactly 100% sure of the outcome, although I tell you, when you start taking life in your own hands, you have a lot more power in choosing the outcome, because you're taking accountability and you're owning your life and your choices. So when we get outside of our comfort zone, when we start making those choices, you're going to find that they become easier and easier. That's because you get better and better at them. So just like if you want to deadlift 500 pounds, you don't start with 500 pounds. You start with 20 pounds. And then you get better and better and better. And you keep lifting heavier weights. And by the time you realize it, you're at 500 pounds, which is a crazy amount to deadlift, by the way. Kudos to you if you can do that. So we're going to take accountability. We're going to take small actions. We're going to understand that your brain is just trying to help you. It's just not being very helpful. Kind of like if you've ever been around a small child who wants to help, in quotes, help you do something. like bake a cake and they just get flour everywhere. Like, you know, the toddler doesn't know what they're doing. They're doing the best that they can with their knowledge, what they're wired for. But they're like not very good at baking cakes, right? So your brain is the same way. Your brain is wired for safety. It is wired to not expend a lot of energy, which means that it doesn't want you to do new things, and it never wants you to be uncomfortable. But the big secret is every time you run away from discomfort, you actually just become uncomfortable for the rest of your life because you're out of alignment and you don't have the life that you want, and you're lying to yourself that you're happy, which feels bad because it's out of alignment with who you are and your real honest truth. So if you're saying, hey, Amanda, that's super great, but like, I need a tangible example. I'm glad you asked. I'm going to give you one. So let's say you have a history of really imbalanced or abusive relationships. Your past partners were cruel, they were manipulative, they may have hit you, they may not have, but they were just really unsupportive, shitty partners. They were lazy. They just did not, it was not an equal partnership, right? So if you have a history of imbalanced or abusive partnerships, it can be so scary to get back out there and to trust people again and to meet new people and to let anyone in. And I get it, right? You've been hurt. People who were supposed to love you hurt you. And very naturally, you're going to be afraid to let someone in again. That's totally normal. Your brain is working exactly as it's designed to. So if you want to be in a healthy, balanced relationship, then we have to do some things that are going to feel very scary for you. And I work with a lot of clients who go through this process. They have been hurt, they have been traumatized, and they have to learn how to be brave every single step of the way, because what they want is a real partnership. What they want is deep, meaningful friendships. But that takes so much bravery, especially when you've been hurt. So we have to learn that their brain, they have to learn, my clients, and you have to learn that your brain is going to try and do everything it can to keep you from doing that, because it doesn't want you to get hurt again. And that's not a bad thing. Your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to keep you safe. But safe doesn't always mean happy, and very often they are direct opposites of each other. So we have to accept that you're going to be afraid and you're going to be unsure, and your nervous system is going to have a reaction. You are going to react to certain situations with anxiety, with fear. You're going to want to run away. You're going to want to avoid things. You're going to want to just play dead and move to a new city and never talk to anyone again. Like, that's very normal. With exposure, this is why we start Bravery with little actions. With exposure to small things, your nervous system starts to rewire and your brain starts to rewire. And it says, oh, okay, well, I went through that experience and I didn't die. I may have felt like I was going to die, but I didn't actually die. So that's exciting. So if we do it again, the chances of me dying are not very high because I just went through that experience and I didn't die. So I'll probably be okay. And in this way, we start rewiring your central nervous system and your brain, but it literally takes doing the thing that you're afraid to do. Because if we always avoid the thing that we're afraid to do, all you teach your nervous system is that you, in quotes, can't handle it. Not that you literally can't handle it. It's not going to kill you. You feel like it's going to kill you, and you're building the wrong muscle. You're building the muscle that avoids, that runs away, that gives in to your fear. We don't want to build that muscle because you don't get the life that you want. You live your life as a coward, and that's not okay. That is not going to get you what you want. It's not going to make you happy. It's not even going to make you safe, because then you're always running, which is literally the opposite of standing your ground and having the life that you want. We want to build a muscle that does things even though we're afraid, because what happens is, you're going to go through this somatic reaction where you're going to be afraid and you're going to have an anxiety reaction and you're going to be scared, and your brain is going to throw you all these thoughts to try and keep you from doing it. But once you do the thing, you're going to learn that it's really not that scary. It's probably wasn't even that hard, or it wasn't as hard as you thought it was going to be, or it was as hard as you thought it was going to be, and you survived anyway. And you return to baseline anyway. So we start building resilience. We start building our ability to sit through uncomfortable situations. We start building our ability to be brave, which gets you the life that you want. I have never met a coward who has the life that they want. It doesn't happen. You have to be brave to have the life that you want. Being in alignment takes bravery. Being honest takes bravery. Setting boundaries takes bravery. Like, all of those things take being brave. And bravery, as you know now, is just a practice. We can get better and better and better at it with practice. So that is why we're talking about it today. So I want you to think about like areas that you have been afraid to take a step towards, goals that you have been afraid to take a step towards. And I want you to write down like what your brain is telling you about those things. It's not going to work out. I'm going to fail. I'm not good enough. Nobody will like me if I do that. Like, my friends will leave me. My family will make fun of me. Okay, super legit. Those things are all stories that your brain is telling you. And I want you to look at every single one of them. And I want you to say, okay, if these are the worst, absolute worst thing that happened, the worst things that my brain can come up with, can I move forward with the understanding that many of these things are unlikely to come true, and I'll survive if they do? Which is bravery, right? If someone makes fun of you, you're not going to die about it. If someone leaves you because you're being more authentic to yourself, because you're living the life that you want, and they decide for whatever reason they're mad about it, is that really someone that you want in your life anyway? Maybe, maybe not. I can't say for you, but I think it's worth examining. So we want to write down our big fat fears that our little gremlin brain tells us. And we want to say, okay, if these are the worst thing that happened, like, can I survive it? And an even better question, are these fears worth never trying? Like, are they really worth giving up on the life that you want? Having the relationships that you want, having a job that you love, in a city that you love, with people that you love, like, is giving into those fears worth it? Because you're going to guarantee that you never get what you want when you give into fear, rather than having a much higher chance of having the life that you do want when you practice bravery. So I want you to think about that. What ways have you let fear hold yourself back? If you feel comfortable sharing, let me know. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Amanda_chills_therapist. I am fascinated to hear about how people's fears hold them back. And if you need support, reach out, right? Happy to help. But if you're wanting more out of life, I also want you to consider, not that you have to, you don't have to do a damn thing, I say, any day, at any time. But you're listening here, so let me have you consider working with me. I'm doing a group coaching container for people like you. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you are my people. For people like you, a 3-month container with ideally 8 to 12 other people who are going after the damn thing that they want, like who are getting rid of their people-pleasing tendencies, who are showing up empowered and confident, and you don't have to know how to get there yet. That's literally what the group program is for. I'm going to teach you how to do those things, and you're going to have a community of totally dope people who are doing it with you. You can apply at my website, livemyhappyhealth.com. I hope to see you there. And if you are afraid of applying, it is absolutely no commitment. All it does is say, hey, I'm interested. If you decide it's not for you, hey, live your best life. No worries, my dude. But don't let your fear stop you from doing it. We can do things even though we're afraid. So let me know about those things. And go have a big, brave, beautiful day.